Hello, everyone.
Welcome back. Um, so hopefully some of you are going to be hopping on shortly if you're not here already. Feel free to say hi.
Yes.
So tonight's topic: when to say when. So I have a customer story.
Ooh, do tell.
I had a customer. She has an aggressive cat, and there have been some. The cat injured two different groomers at two different salons. And when I say injured, I don't mean kind of injured. I mean like, whoa, injured. So she called me, begged me, please take this cat. Okay. So I booked the appointment. I groomed the cat. It wasn't easy, but I do work with an assistant when I work with cats. And we got through it. We used a cone, and my assistant Angie wore the Kevlar sleeves that go all the way up and frisk gloves. So that was okay. That worked. But I'm like, okay, we need to get you on a schedule.
Mm-hmm.
hmm
And because this is pelting and this is not cool. We can't do this again.
Mm-hmm.
So we booked her next appointment, and the the cat was having a tough time in the car. So she was vomiting. And so the vet said, give her gabapentin. Well, I don't do drugged animals because of the liability. So many things can go wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, by the way, the cat is 18.
Go.
So 18-year-old drugged cat, yada yada.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And at the time, I didn't know of a veterinary groomer in our area because the one that we did have had retired. So I had nowhere to refer her. And now I'm like, okay, the vets won't sedate her because she's 18.
Right.
And they're like, oh, no. Nope.
Yes.
So all the veterinarians referred her to me. And I was like, well, okay. So the next appointment, she called 15 minutes before her appointment, said she couldn't get the cat. Okay, I understand. She's an elderly woman. That's fair. Stuff like that happens. But I had booked because she had to reschedule. She rescheduled. So now the cat's pelted again.
Of course.
So I had booked a 2-hour time slot. So now I have an empty 2 hours time slot. So rebooked her for, I think this was like around Thanksgiving. So I didn't have anything around Christmas. I don't have a 2-hour time slot in December.
Right.
So I rebooked her for like the second week of January. She called 15 minutes before, couldn't get the cat. Okay, this is getting expensive at this point because I'm paying Angie to be here,
Right.
and Angie's been with me for a very long time. Angie makes a lot of money, to the point where we go to classes and she's like, Psh, I make more than you guys. She's talking to groomers. So yeah. Um, so today her appointment was at 1 o'clock. She showed up at 10. And I'm like, I have a appointment. I'm like, my 10 o'clock was there.
Mm-hmm.
And she's already in the room with her cat. And I'm like, I can't fit in a 2-hour groom. I'm like, I can take you again at 1. She's like, well, I'm not keeping her in the cage until 1. I'll try to catch her again. And I'm like, um, what do I do? I can't push back all of my appointments before her
Right.
and take her now.
She's just not compliant. She's not making it. She's not going with the flow here, so everybody can be served properly.
hmm
And so Ange said, okay, I will reschedule you. So what we did was we put her on the end of a day. So if she calls 15 minutes before, hey, we get out at 4 o'clock.
That's a
Uh-huh.
great idea. Yeah.
Yep.
Hot dog. And I said, but if she doesn't make it to this appointment, we're done.
Mhm.
Because at this point, between what the grooms would have cost and what I've paid Angie, I've lost about $500.
Yep.
Sure. Overtime of her
Mhm.
just not being right.
Right.
Yep.
And I'm like, can't afford to do that. I
Mhm.
can't
Mhm.
afford to pay Ange $50 to do nothing for
Mhm.
2 hours.
Right.
Um, so, and I told her, I said, look, I know she's a very nice woman. She's an elderly woman. I understand getting the cat is difficult because the cat is difficult. But at some point, I have to think of my bottom line.
Mhm.
And I know that it's kind of, it feels heartless.
It's still business. I mean, that's what it's a
But
business.
at the end of the day, I have to make sure I earn enough money to pay the bills, to pay me, and to give Angie that ridiculous salary
Mhm.
Mhm.
that she deserves for being with me for over 2 decades.
Sure.
Right. Mhm.
And I can't do that if I have a 2 hour middle of the day block.
Right.
Right.
So how did you resolve it?
So we did give her the end of the day appointment for next time. And Angie wrote her, instead of an appointment card, she wrote her an index card with a Sharpie.
Make sure she sees it. Yes.
Big,
Yes.
big. And Ange put a note to call her the day before to remind her.
Mhm.
Mhm.
And if she cancels this one, then that's just it. We're done.
Well, and we have such a hard time, right? Because we do it for the animals. So when a client isn't respecting that, especially I have a soft spot for those old elderly pelted cats too.
Mhm.
But I will tell you, when we first opened the cat salon, we got a lot of elderly pelted cats because
Mhm.
they didn't know where to get groomed, right?
Yep.
Okay, understandable. We've now been open 2 years. When you come in once a year and your animal's still pelted, now that's neglect.
Mhm.
And we're about to put in, I haven't figured out how I'm going to institute it yet, but like, I'm going to listen, twice a year, like even 3 times a year will prevent that from happening. And that's all I'm asking. So we're going to try and figure out how to do, I don't want to do, if you're a repeat once a year groomer or pelted cat, I can't do it. The risk is too high.
Mhm.
What I did with that
Mm-hmm.
is I have a 6 month minimum.
Mm.
So if you have not been to me in 6 months, dog, cat, bunny, what have you, then I am afraid that I have taken you off of my active client roster
Mhm.
because you have not been in 6 months. I figured you went somewhere else.
Mhm.
I have filled your spot with someone else.
Mhm.
Mm. Yeah.
So I wish you great success with your new groomer, and I hope you have a very nice day.
Mm-hmm.
That's how I handle that.
I like that.
Because it's not unreasonable for it to say you have to be in within 6 months.
No,
Mhm.
not
If
at
it's
all.
a haircut dog, it's even shorter. So if
Right.
it's like a Shih Tzu, a Doodle, or whatnot, it's 3 months.
Mhm.
You have not been in 3 months. I thought you went somewhere else. I replaced you on our roster, and I have nowhere to put you because I have
Mhm.
filled your spot. And I thank you very much for your for coming in when you did. But unfortunately, I don't have a spot for you. But I can put you in our waiting list, and perhaps if something opens up in the future, I can give you a call.
Mhm.
However, at this time, there are over 167 people on that waiting list
Mhm.
Mhm.
as of this morning.
Yeah. I usually give them a twofer. Like, say you're a new client, you come in, the dog's pelted, or the cat, or the bat, or the rat. I will absolutely shave it down. Let's start over, and then instruct on how to protect the skin until the next time. And we're growing it out to da 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 length and blah blah blah. We go through the whole thing. If they come back within that allotted time and it's still a little matted, like they haven't been brushing or whatever, we'll shorten it for one more week. And that's the second time. They get 2 times, and then you're going somewhere else. And they'll come in for their appointment if I can't get a hold of them beforehand. And I have been known to keep a handy dandy little list of all the salons that they have to travel to in my area. They literally have to travel 20 minutes from that area to another groomer wherever they are. So they're pretty exclusive up there. But I'll dig out my list and do a photocopy and be like, here you go, call them, and then they'll probably have a spot for you. And they're like, but we like the way you do it. I'm like, until you can show me that you're on the same team as us, we have to be both on team your dog.
Yeah.
And I can't want it more than you. You have to want it equally as much as me or more. And then I send them on their way, and I thank them for their business. And then I alert the places around me, a couple of them, say, hey, I'm sending you over, blah, blah, blah. Good client, but just not reliable brushing, blah, 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 and whatever the problem is. I won't go into it, but you've all heard my story that I had to criminally trespass a cat client out of the lobby because he was very violent and was very threatening. And that is, I say when to say when is when you're not comfortable anymore. Once you start getting a feeling that you can't work with this client, don't wait. Don't stress. Don't make it become existential. Well, I don't want to hurt their feelings. It's not about feelings. It's about business. It's about being respectful to your time as a business owner. You're there to pay your rent and to feed your children and to live your life. They can lollygag all they want. They got their life going. They're paying their rent. They're carrying on. And also when people ask, oh, well, can you give me a discount because this, that, and the other? I'm like, oh, what do you do for a living? I've had this discussion so many times. What do you do for a living? Oh, whatever. And I'm like, oh, can I get a discount on that? And she's like, I see what you're doing there. It kind of snaps them out. This isn't a bazaar somewhere in Morocco or Marrakech that they expect you to bargain back and forth. This is what my prices are. This is what you're going to pay if I do the work. That's it.
Yep. And I think a lot of people are afraid of bad reviews, and don't be afraid of those bad reviews, because if you know how to work words, so you have 2 options. I love words. I love when people give me a bad review for something that I can defend that was in the best interest of their animals. Go for it. Come at, I'm really good with words. But if not, tactful groomer, or is it tactful communication, unmoderated? And I mean, ask on some of these Facebook groups, you will get some really good feedback on words, and it'll show potential clients in the long run of what your business stands for. So, you should never be afraid of a bad review or repercussions for standing up for what's best for your clients, what you want to offer.
We've gotten a number of bad reviews from people who have never been to my salon. And that's why the 1-star review. They're not taking new customers, and this is BS. And I'm like, now, I understand you're upset that we can't fit your pet in. But the thing is, my loyalty is to my existing customers because they've earned that. Those customers have been there to make sure that we still have a business. So should they not then be my priority over someone else who has never been to my salon? And if I have limited appointments available, who should get that spot? One of my loyal clients or someone I don't even know?
Right.
And if
or someone who's consistently not showed, not argued, did whatever.
So if you were one of my loyal clients, why would you remain so if you meant so little to me that I gave away your appointment spot to someone who had never been in before? And 2 of those 1-star reviews took the review down.
We had it. Yeah, I had it. The cat salon, we had an influx of 1-star reviews because we couldn't finish the cat due to safety reasons and or behavioral aggression. Like, one person had to come back because their cat went hiding underneath the table and was trying to eat us, and had to come back and saw what they were doing. And we were getting an influx of 1-star reviews, and we found out, like, people just assume because we're a cat salon we can do anything, right? We can handle anything, we can hold things down, we can just do it, right? And I'm like, no. So I went on my Facebook post, or I went on my Facebook page, and I put this thing: I want to clarify who we are and what we stand for. This is what there seems to be, this misconception. We've gotten an influx of 1-star reviews, right? Exactly. I'm like, what?
I have one of those, but it's broken on top, and so when it just flops around, I'm like, broken.
Yeah. Right. And yeah, and I put on our Facebook page, like, hey, I'm gonna throw this out there. We've got an influx of 1-star reviews because of, us not being able to handle. We exist because we look out for the best interests of the cat, and we're an environment set up for cats. It does not mean we can groom anything and everything. They're still sentient. I did this whole thing, and guess what? We started getting 5-star reviews right afterwards. And and no, I do feel like reviews, the days of reviews are sort of over. I think people are learning.
I agree. And I'll tell you something about those Yelp and Google reviews. You spend too many minutes worrying about somebody saying something about your business. Now, like Denise was saying, if there's a consistency with something, sure, it needs to be addressed. But that one-off weird client that you criminally trespassed or couldn't finish the dog for whatever reason, I find that when reading through them, you can they tell on themselves, for one. Anybody who loves dogs and understands the grooming process goes, oh, well, that's where you messed up. This is on you. And they're just like, man. I literally never answer them. I read, I laugh. Sometimes I'll print it out and put it up in a frame. But other than that, I don't care. I don't care. That's something that seems like a you problem. I've done everything here to ensure the safety and the quality of the product and the services that we put out. But literally no one reads those. Nobody cares. And if they do read it, they say, oh, I see, you were kind of a jerk. And they tell on themselves. I don't have to reply. I don't have to say anything except put on a big smile, open my door in the morning, and welcome all my lovely clients. So,
yeah. And we had a woman that brought her dog in just for a nail trim. And it was a cockapoo, mini doodle, little curly mix thing. So I went to take the leash, and I was walking by, and the thing went for Angie as we were walking by her. And it grabbed her leg, but it just got the pants, and I didn't see that. So then I put the dog up on the table, and Ange was like, stop. She bit me when you were walking by. And I was like, wait, what? And she's like, yeah, she went after me. And she's like, I'm just going to throw a muzzle on her because you only have 9 fingers left. So I'm going to go with this. And so I was like, okay. So she grabbed a basket muzzle, put the muzzle on the dog, did the nails. And the dog, like, she was just slamming her face into Angie, into me, the entire time we did nails. And Angie's like, you know how we do a lot of like tapping and soothing. So she's, petting here and soothing the dog. And the dog's just like, wah, rah, 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 rah. And we couldn't get the thing to chill. Finally got the nails done. Okay. There, you're done. And took the dog off the table. And it's like, just get her out. And never again. Just get her out. Go. This is not a dog I want. I'm not. I have too many of these already, and I don't have the bandwidth for one more. So Ange took the muzzle off, and she nailed her right here in the palm. And I'm like, son of a. And we had her calm before, because that was the whole point. What we're going to do is we're going to calm her down.
Mhm.
We want her relaxed. So when the next groomer goes to do anything with the muzzle, they're not going to get nailed.
Right.
So we didn't want her in that heightened excitement.
She was just biding her time.
All it was. She was
Planning your downfall.
yeah. So she was relaxed. She was sitting. She was like, okay. And it's like, good girl, very nice. And Ange took the muzzle off and she went, wow, and nailed her.
Yeah.
And it's like, son of a gun. So, and Kayla says she's done that before. I guarantee you she has.
Oh, yeah.
And so took her up front, and Ange is literally just dripping all over. And I hand the leash to the woman, and I said, that'll be $20. And she had filled out the customer information form, and it says, has she ever bitten anyone before? She said, no. Has she ever bitten a groomer before? She said, no. And it also says, has she bitten or tried to bite a groomer? And she put no and no. So,
Liar, pants on fire.
yeah. And so I said, okay, that'll be $20. And I plugged it in the Square. And she said, well, I want to make an appointment for a haircut. And I said, I'm sorry. Anthony's just been bitten by your dog. And she said, well, what did you do to her? And I pulled up my phone and pulled up the video and I put it on the thing. And now I'm washing her wound out with betadine. And as you can see, we didn't do anything to her. We were soothing your dog the entire time. And she's going after us the entire time. And kept her body, lifted her foot like this far off the ground, because I don't know if it's structural issue, whatnot. I'm very careful with that because I have structural issues. So I'm very mindful of that. And she's like, well, that's ridiculous. And I'm like, she was just bitten by your dog. So I think you need to let the next groomer know that your dog is my dog is not aggressive. She's literally bleeding all over the floor.
Well, and she just watched the video of the dog being all freaky, biting the leg, having to be muzzled. Holy cow.
So
my dog's fine.
Right.
Fine.
No aggression.
And so then she says, that's your job.
Oh.
There are a few things that upset me. But if you say something to my staff, and she was looking right at Angie when she said it, you may as well light me on fire. Because I was enraged. And I'm like, it is not her job or mine to get bit by your dog. It's my job to style your dog. It's her job to bathe your dog.
And it's the owner's job to socialize, train, and otherwise make their dog normal-ish, so that they can come to the grooming salon.
Nowhere in my job description does it say chew toy.
Right.
So we had her rabies on file and everything because we require that. And so she's like, so you're seriously not going to make me an appointment? And I said, man, we're not a good fit. We're not a good fit. So have a nice day. I need to fix her up. It was just a nip. And Angie goes, puh. Literally flops a blob of blood about this big right on the counter in front of her. And she goes, ah, and then walks out. And I'm like,
goodbye.
All right. There we go.
Well done, Ange. And this is why I love this woman. This is why we've worked together for so long, because we're both demented. And so we get her fixed up. And then my dear, dear friend happens to be the animal control officer who works in the town where she lives. And I'm like, beep, boop, boop, boop. Hey. So, and she's like, oh, what do you know? That's her third bite.
She knew.
Oh.
Liar, liar.
And I
That
was
is
like,
just no respect for other life forms at
Mm-mm.
all.
uh-huh. And I said, well, you may want to go down there and let her know that she's on quarantine. Um, and I'll send you pictures of the bite. And she said, it didn't even break the skin, it was a nip. And Jen's like, huh?
I see a movie on that screen.
So she was, Mandy said she needed to be fined. She was absolutely fined. She was actually fined $250
At
Oh.
least.
because it was
Too
her.
bad those fines don't go toward the victim of the bite.
I
Right.
know. But I did buy Aunt lunch. But then again, I buy Aunt lunch most days. So, but yeah. So that's how that ended up. And
That
then she
sounds
wrote a
insane.
nasty review. And one of my other customers commented on it and said, "You're just a crazy lady." I've been a customer there for over 20 years and she's lovely.
See,
You're
yeah.
nuts.
Mhm.
I was like,
Yep.
That happens a lot. You literally don't have to sweat it, even though I know you do as owners and
Oh
as
yeah.
groomers who don't own the salon, but it happened to you when you were in the thick of it. Literally, just take deep breaths and let it slide off because it is part of doing business dealing with people like this.
Yep.
And those reviews really don't mean anything. And like Angie just said, 9 times out of 10, the people that love you will see that and be like, oh, no, 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 no.
you're a crazy person.
Yeah.
And I could hear the customer in my head when I was reading the post. She's a lovely elderly woman. I've groomed her dogs for like forever. And I was like, I can totally hear her saying that.
Mhm.
That's kind of awesome. Thanks.
Yeah. Yeah, develop some kind of like a 1, 2, 3 rule for yourself and your
Mhm.
salon. I'm like Angie. I will mama bear somebody over my girls.
Mhm.
I'll lose my mind. Do not yell at them. Do not raise your voice at them. Do not argue with them. They are
Right.
all educated or very much on their way. So this is not the place for you to do that at all.
Mhm.
So I mean, you're not even allowed to yell at people at McDonald's. Do you think I'm going to allow somebody to yell at my girls inside the salon?
Right. Right.
Right. All right.
So,
It is time for the weird facts.
Angie's Weekly Weird Fact.
So polar bears aren't white. Their fur is actually translucent. Isn't that crazy?
and their skin is black.
Skin is black. And it absorbs the heat and protects the skin from the sun.
Angie's Weekly Weird Fact.
So I thought that was the craziest thing. So if you look at it, if you look at just a strand
Mhm.
of their hair, it's actually,
It's like a fiber optic.
it is, it's like fiber optic cable.
Mhm.
Light goes through it and you can, I was looking at different images and it's translucent. You can see right through it. It's like a tube and it's amazing. It's kind of like this.
Mhm.
Right.
Exactly.
And I'm like,
And with the glitter.
yeah.
Which is literally a clean polar bear, if there is such a thing in the wild. After they get through washing or whatever, you can see their coat has rainbows because of the light hitting it or whatever. It's just beautiful. It's a beautiful coat.
Yeah, it's the
Mhm.
coolest thing. And their skin is like jet black.
It's like their nose and their paw pads.
Mhm.
Yeah, to protect from the intense sun.
Right.
And the polar bears in New York City are yellow, probably because of the water that they're swimming in, because
And the
the
soot from the city.
and the soot from the city.
Mhm.
So what happens with hard water is it will actually coat the hair in a bit of mineral.
Mineral deposits.
Yeah, mineral deposits. So you actually have to take that off. However, polar bears aren't so much for like getting in the bathtub and doing a little,
Mhm.
you know, Um, and Darius says, it's a joke. I think it's
It
paid.
could be. I mean, the husbandry of many of the zoos that are even the best ones are just not that great. You have to imagine a lot of these animals have miles of territory and they move to keep it clean, to keep themselves clean. So your husbandry has to be so on point when you're looking at putting an animal in an enclosure that's supposed to have a huge range. So that has a lot to do with it as well. And sometimes that all they have is the mud right there and they're going to roll in it, you know.
And plus, that's cooling too on a 95-degree day in the city.
Even the winters in New York City aren't like the winters where they live. So you have to imagine they're just hot all the time. So they're trying to get in and cool off in the pool and the mud and whatever they have that they've made available for them to use.
Yeah, because I mean, they're in normally -20,
Yep.
and they're like,
Seals are their favorite food. I mean, where the seals live.
Right.
yeah, that's crazy. That's just crazy. On a side note, I actually saw a video of a wildlife videographer, I should say, who was following a family of polar bears, and the mama bear decided she had had enough of being followed by the truck and ripped the cab open by the metal and was trying to pull him out. It was all on camera. And they stopped following her there because she wanted to eat them at that point. And
then you have the videos where they come into the mushing villages and play with the dogs. Like it's intense. That's insane. You can't. They're unpredictable. Don't approach them. Please don't approach the bison at Yellowstone. Don't do it. They're not pets. You cannot pet them. You should not pet them. Don't take their babies away. Don't do anything to them. They
Don't
live
touch the
there.
babies. Don't even look at the babies.
Well, they had to put down a baby. Did you hear that a few years ago? The touristy people, I guess I won't. I'll be nice. The touristy people went through there and saw the baby calf, and they had gone off to graze or whatever. The calf was left there on purpose. Whatever, it lives there. That's how it happens.
Yeah.
Is the baby calf was cold, so they got it and put it in the back of their car, and took it to the ranger station, and literally, they are responsible for its death. After that baby has all the human smells on it, the mama and the herd will reject it, and there is no saving that calf. So they had to euthanize it. You cannot mess with these animals. It's not a zoo when you go to Yellowstone or to a reserve or a preserve. That's where they live. That's where they live. And they are wild, and they will hurt you. Protecting their family. Leave them alone. Don't try. I've seen so many depantsings around the body. It's like, okay, you deserve it. I don't even feel sorry for you. You're dumb. You're dumb. They go to the geysers and jump in because they think, well, I don't know what they're thinking. They die.
It's boiling water.
I cannot. I can't.
Right.
That steam comes out because when water boils,
Not only that, it's sulfuric. It's got all kinds of nasty acid in it, and all. Oh my gosh! But there you have it. To have your dog unleashed in a park is illegal because of that. There's been several dogs that want to jump in there because they're water dogs or whatever, and then a human goes after them to save them, and then everybody dies. Everybody dies. Leash your dogs. You are responsible for their well-being and their safety. You have to leash them. When you're doing off-leash work, it should be in an area that's meant for off-leash work. So just my brain. It hurts.
Yeah. Yep.
All righty then.
All right.
Right.
I've said my piece.
Yeah. And on that note,
And
I think we're going to call it a night because that pretty much summed it all up and tied it in a bow.
Yep.
Yep. Well done. All right. Good night, everybody. Thank you.
Good
for joining us.
night.
Take care. We'll see you next week.